got a young sales guy that works for me, and he just started about a month and a half ago, and he's crushing it. He's doing really, really well. He sold maybe $65,000, $70,000 in painting jobs, and really he's only been selling, you think about it, it takes a week to start getting some leads. By the time you can take those leads and turn them into some estimates to go out and estimate their painting job, right? There's some turnaround time there. So really, he's really been doing this 3 weeks after the training and getting leads and then getting that process started. And he's closing in on $70,000. He could be at $100,000 here by the end of the month, easily. And he gets a 5% commission. He has a little bit of a base salary, but he came to my office and he's like, dude, how can I make more money? How can I make $100,000 here? So we just started doing the math, right? You always got to do the math. You've always got to break down the math. That's something I think it just came natural to me when I started reading all these books. I'm like, okay, to be a millionaire, I got to do this. I got to have this many properties worth this with that much debt. I got to, to make $100,000 a year, to make $500,000 a year, to make $1 million a year. And I just started doing the math on how much I had to make per month, how much I had to make per week, how much I had to make per day, per hour. Because it's all just a number, right? And that's what I was telling our sales rep. Everything is just broken down into a number. So you can take the large goal where you want to be, put a number to it, then you just break it down, and then you back into it. So he's like, man, how can I make $100,000? I'm like, man, you're going to be close. If you keep up the pace you're on right now, you're going to be close to $100,000 in your first year. And he's like, well, how's that? And I'm like, well, here's the pace that you're on right now, sales-wise, right? You sell $80,000 a month, and you do that for 12 months. That's $960,000. That's almost $50,000 right there. On top of his base, that takes him up to close to 80. Plus, if he did that, he'd hit 2 or 3 of his bonuses. We'd actually probably have to set a different bonus structure or add a bonus tier for him to reach for. And so if he did that, we found out it would take him to like $94,000 or $98,000. And he's like, well, what happens when I'm capped? What happens when, he's like, how much do you think I can actually go out and sell before I run out of time? I'm like, that's a really good question, because not a lot of people think that way. And I said, well, I think that you can probably do 1.2 to 1.5 in sales if you really get after it. And if you do that, that's going to put you to $120,000 to $150,000 between commissions, base, bonuses. When we're profitable and stuff like that, I would bonus on profits based on our what our EBITDA is, the percentages, based on where our goal was, and if we reach that goal or hit that goal, the excess money could bonus out, right? So he's like, oh wow, really? He's like, so what happens when I do that? How can I make $250,000 here, $400,000 here? I said, well, we'll find a way for you to do that, right? If you keep asking this question, we'll find a way for you to do it, because it's all just math. So what can we do next? Like, number one, you got to show that you can produce yourself. And I said, you're going to have to do that for 1 to 3 years and show that you can really produce. And then if you can show that you can really produce, then what probably happens is we probably take your personal goal, and we actually probably take your personal goal down to maybe 800,000, 700,000, whatever it is, because you still got to be, in my opinion, you still got to be leading and doing. But then at that point, you can have a sales team or a pod or whatever you want to call it, right? You can have a team where you'd basically be a sales manager or a sales lead, whatever, and you would have 1, 2, 3, 4 sales reps with you that you're training, that you're leading, that you're coaching, that you're responsible for, and you're going to help them reach all their bonuses as well, and you can basically get a percentage of all their sales for leading that crew, for leading that team. That's one way we could do it. What are the actual numbers? I don't personally know the numbers, so I couldn't tell him what that actually looked like, but I said it's some shape, form, or fashion of that. And I said, you're asking the right number. You're asking the right questions. Not a lot of people ask these questions. I'm like, I would love for you to make $1 million around here. And if you want to make $1 million a year, there's a way that we can probably find for you to do that, especially when you're in sales. Right? And so then he's like, okay, so if I start making that money, and these are all the questions that I was asking when I was his age. So he's like 23, maybe 22, 23, and He's like, so I start making all that money. What do I do with that money? How can I put that money to work like you're putting money to work? And I said, man, that's another really good question. And this was like a 30-minute conversation we had. And because he wants to own property one day. And I said, well, we can teach you how you can own property. I can teach you how you can own property. You can invest alongside us, and you can invest with me and our other investors. But this is where I kind of got into the exciting part, and it was how I always thought about it was, I try to get $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 as fast as I can through when you combine my salary, or when you combine like the profits from my companies, when you combine in distributions that I'm getting from my companies and real estate. I try to grow my monthly income so that I have excess, and I try to keep my expenses relative, right? Especially right now, I still keep my expenses super low. I'm super tight. And I take that margin and I save it, and I try to get to $100,000 of savings, or $250,000, $500,000, $1 million of savings. And I want to be able to write that check, write those amounts into real estate. So now let's think about this. I told him, and his name's Quentin, so I'll just use his name. Quentin's a sales rep. And I said, so this is what I'll tell you is, when I first started, like my first year out of college, I made like $11,000. And I said the second year I made like $32,000. But I knew that what I was doing, I was building my business at that point. And I knew what I was doing. I wasn't going to get paid for today. I'm going to get paid for tomorrow. And what I'm doing today, I'm not getting paid for. Like I'm not getting paid for my actions today. Today I'm making, the money that I'm making today is actually money that I made 2 or 3 years ago, back in 2017, 2018. The work that I put in now is just paying off. I'm like, I haven't been paid for 2019 yet. I haven't been paid for 2020 yet. And so I said, early on, I understood that what I was building, my skills, the momentum in my business, the size of my business, I knew that there was going to be a lag or a delay factor in me actually getting paid for the efforts that I was putting in that day. So I said, you got to understand that, because right now, you're still, even though you're in sales, right, and you don't own this company, but you're still delaying a lot of your pay. And he's like, well, how? If I don't have any ownership here. I'm like, all the leads that you just got today, you made calls to set up estimates, right? There's a delay factor right away built into that. I said, on top of it, then you got to go do an estimate. Then when you give them the estimate, it might take them 1 day, 3 days, 5 days, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year for you to close that job. There's a delay factor there. The work that you did yesterday, you're going to get paid for later, right? And now you're not getting paid for the jobs that you sell until we actually produce the painting jobs. So, which we're right now booked out like a month and a half, and the customer pays in full. So there's a delay factor, right? But also, not just those actions and actual money, also it's a delay from the standpoint of like every single day you're getting better and better and better at at your craft, at this sales role. You're getting better. You're learning every single day. We're making a lot of mistakes, but you're learning. So you can learn from, when you learn your ratios and all that stuff, as far as like how many leads you could turn into estimates, how many estimates you turn into sales, all of those are going to increase. And when all those increase, now you're closing more jobs, right? And as you're getting better at estimating, as you're getting better at sales, and as we get busier as a company and better, and a better name and a better brand, our prices are also probably going to be higher, right? So everything that you're doing is delayed. And I had that understanding when I was young. So the second year out of college, whatever. By the third year, I was making like $70,000. I was able to save money, bought a 4-unit, right? Well, now the cool thing is I kept that first spigot on. I kept doing my direct sales. I kept it because I wasn't just going to convert over to real estate and stop, right? Once I turn a spigot on, I don't want that spigot to stop. Yet at the same time, I'm creating more spigots of money flowing, because at any given time, one could be taken away from you for some reason, right? The direct sales company I was involved in right now, that money all went away. The company was basically they had to go direct to consumer and be a retail company. The network marketing portion of it got taken away. All the distributors lost their check. I lost my $3,000 to $5,000 a month. By the time I lost that, thank God I had real estate, I had all this other stuff going on. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of fun money anyways. It's extra savings that I get to have every month. It didn't destroy me, or it didn't really hurt me like it hurt some other people. But the cool thing was once I invested in that first building, right, I was making $5,000 to $7,000 a month in direct sales. When I closed in that building started paying me $100 a month. So now as I'm increasing my direct sales job, $5,000 to $7,000 a month, and I'm increasing that to $6,000 to $8,000 or $6,500 to $9,000. I'm making more there. But then as time went on, we improved that building, and the building went from paying me $100 to $200 to $400 to $800 a month. right? So flash forward, when I bought that building, after I bought that building, I was then making like $10,000 a month between the profits from the building and the distributions there and my direct sales. I was making more, so I was able to save more. Now, as those two streams of income were growing, guess what? I bought another building. That building started paying me $100 a month, while the first building was paying me $800 a month, while at that time my direct sales was paying me $10,000 a month. Now what could I do? I could save more money more rapidly to get to that $50,000 of savings, $100,000 of savings to then invest. So then what happened? We bought more real estate, right? And so now I'm getting paid a salary. I'm getting paid distributions from 6 properties. We've been in and out of numerous deals where we've made hundreds of thousands to $1 million that way, and I reinvested those funds. And so that's my advice to you, is when you really start to think about it, you get $100,000. Now when I put $100,000 to work, I can count on that paying me $6,000 to $10,000 the first year, right? So now let's say I put $100,000 of work today. It's going to pay me $6,000 to $10,000 on top of everything else. It's going to pay me $6,000 to $10,000 year one. Year two, it's going to pay me, $10,000 to $15,000. Well, in year two, I just made another investment. So while that first that 10 to 15 grand is paying me that 10 to 15 grand that year in year two, buy another property. That if I put $200,000 work to that one's going to pay me about $12,000 to $15,000 year one. So now I got the other one that's paying me the 10 to 15, the other one's that paying me 12 to 15, plus everything else that I had, right? Year three, the very first property that I bought might be paying me $15,000 a month to $18,000 a month. The property that I bought after that is paying me $18,000 a month to $20,000 a month. Then we invested in another property. I can put another $500,000 of work, right? And now that's all happening, right? I build the infrastructure. We have great management teams, have great people working for us. The people that are working for us are unbelievable. So I have the management company working for it, doing a lot of these day-to-day things in the real estate. We have the painting company, right? So that's still paying me. I have my salaries for running those companies, right? We have a private equity company, right? So that's just a little bit. There's nothing much more that needs to be said. It's just you need to expand your thinking. And my conversation with our sales rep all started because he and his girlfriend or fiance, I think it's his girlfriend, were looking at buying a house that was like an hour away from us, hour and a half away from us, hour drive. He said that he was gonna be making the drive every month. And I said, dude, what's so special about this house? And he told me, he's like, it's got 3 acres, it's $95,000. And I said, dude, you gotta think bigger. You gotta dream bigger. I said, the opportunity that you have here with this company right now, I'm telling you, if you move there, you'll last a little bit of time, but you're not gonna drive an hour and a half to work every single day. And the opportunity that you have here is humongous. And I said, if you think that $80,000 or $90,000 place is your guys' dream place right now, you need to dream bigger, especially with the results that I've just seen out of you in this last month and a half. And we're still learning together this whole process. So it starts with dream. You need to dream bigger. You need to think bigger. And then you need to realize that when you're going after those big things, you're not going to be compensated day one for them. Keep that in mind.